Welcome back to DIY Willy. Last week or a few days ago, from the time I'm making this video, I made a post on my community about a friend of ours dropping off a Predator 3500 generator. The generator quit running, and he was just asking me if I would take a look at it and possibly get it running again. He knew that I was working on Predator engines, and well, of course, this is just a 212 Predator engine. Even though it is a different 212 Predator engine, being a generator, it is different. This one turned out to be a HEMI. Well, I was really surprised when I took the side panels off and saw that it was a HEMI. So I did have a subscriber comment in that post about possibly being a stuck valve in the engine. I did my first initial investigation and really couldn't figure out why. It had spark. It had everything it needed to run. It just wouldn't run. That subscriber mentioned in the comments on the post that it could have a stuck valve, that it was common with these generator engines. And so since I couldn't find anything initially wrong with it, it was time to take the valve cover off. And when taking the valve cover off, I found this. I'll try to leave a picture here. The push rod and the rocker arm were no longer together. The push rod was just laying down at the bottom of the head, and the rocker was just loose. So so I tried to reconnect the push rod and the lifter or rocker, excuse me, and the rocker, and I tried to reset the gap, but the gap would not reset. I ran the adjustment all the way out, and it still wasn't contacting the valve. Spike. So that right there told me that there is a problem with the valve. So I went ahead and I removed the head, and again, I'll put a picture right here of what I saw after I removed the head. So that brings me to where I am right now. Right now, I've got the generator completely torn apart. You can see I've got the head off. There's the piston. Pretty dirty. Yeah, I've got it all apart. So here's the head, and I have since freed up the exhaust valve. It now works. It gets a little stuck on the top of the head of the valve. It's kind of mushroomed out. Right now I think the lifter, yeah, the lifter is stuck down. But for the most part, it's free. I could probably reuse this valve. I would just go in there, clean it up, and relap it, and it would probably work just fine. However, I do have new valves of the same type, same size, everything, with new keepers. And I think I'm just going to go ahead and refresh the head and install the new valves, lap them in, and then put the thing back together with a new valve cover gasket and relap the valves. I'm debating whether or not to try to change the rockers. Is the rocker going to be okay? I mean, it looks okay. It looks fine. I have new rockers I could put in there if I needed to. But, yeah, I think it's fine. I think we'll just clean everything up, wire brush it, wash it, you know, get rid of all this soot on the inside, and then lap in the new valves and reassemble it. Now, I've had some things go on. This thing's been apart for more than a week probably, so I can hope I remember how to get it back together. But I had surgery, and I haven't been able to work on it for a week, like I said. So now I'm back up and going, and I'm going to go ahead and put this thing together. We'll clean the piston up. We'll wire brush it all. We'll get it all nice and clean and oiled up. We'll change the oil in it too. And just get it ready to go. Now, when I tried to use the electric start on this, the starter just clicked. Now, I don't know if that was because the valve was stuck. I don't think so, but the starter just clicked. So we're going to also take a look at the starter, see if we can get it to spin. If we can get it to engage the motor at all, we may have to look at doing something with the starter as well. Anyway, there we go. We've got to get this generator put back together and get it running again for our friend here. So I was going to buy a new head, but after taking the head off and seeing what it actually was, I think I'm just going to refresh this head and put it back on. It should be good to go. All right, let's get going on that project. All right, so we're going to try to clean this head up. I'm going to use my super clean degreaser and cleaner to try to get in here and clean these up. I got a couple wire brushes. I've got my wire wheel on the drill, and whenever you use that wire wheel, always use a pair of safety glasses. That thing can throw wires out, especially being this close. It could really make a mess. So to get started, I think I'm going to leave these valves, the old valves, in there, and I'm just going to hit it with the wire wheel and see how good we can get all this stuff cleaned off. Just clean off all the old carbon build up. Now that looks 10 times better. You can see that I still got some pretty thick stuff in here that will probably chip out of there with a razor blade. But I mean, it cleaned up really nice. See if I can just use my screwdriver, kind of chip that stuff up gently. Just kind of break it up. There, that did it. The heavier deposits. We hit it one more time with the wire wheel. This is getting some of those thicker, more stubborn deposits off that the wire wheel didn't get. I mean, you wouldn't really have to do that. You wouldn't really have to do that, but we're gonna do it. Just because I want it to look nice. Get that combustion chamber all cleaned up. I can see some of the forging, or some of the when they cast this piece, I can see some of the imperfections in the casting. If I really want to do this, if I was building a race engine, I would go ahead and smooth all that out, giving the area, making it smoother, making less chances for things to stick on it. But this is not a race engine or a high performance engine. This is just a generator engine. But it would be fun. It's really hard not to try to port the head and do some of the other work we do with these engines on here. I'm gonna finish this up right now. Get the old gaskets off. See if I can clean off the ports some. And yeah, we got to get these rockers off of here and clean up in here too. But that's where the super clean will come in play. So I'm gonna do some of this work, and I'll see you guys back here in a few minutes. Okay, I've got the head completely disassembled. All the studs are out. I'm gonna go ahead and soak it in some super clean and let it sit for a little while. Maybe break up some of these deposits that are inside. The bowl turned out, or the chamber, I should say, rather, turned out really nice. I'll make sure I wire brush inside here, get some of the big carbon deposits out of the intake runs, and we'll get it all cleaned up and ready to assemble again. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and soak it for a little while. I won't film any of that. I won't let you suffer through that. That might take a little while. So I'm just gonna get it ready to soak, and I'll even get the lifters and the pins, everything put in there to soak as well, and get everything cleaned up really nice. So I have the head all cleaned up. You can see it looks pretty darn good. A little bit of discoloration in there. It's not perfect, but it's a whole hell of a lot better than it was. Kind of got this all polished up a little bit. Got the intake and exhaust sides all cleaned up and kind of polished out. Again, leaving the intake, even though it's polished, it is still kind of rough inside. So yeah, I think it's ready to go ahead and lap the valves in and start assembly. However, I noticed after I pulled the springs out, here's the intake spring. Looks pretty good, right? Here's the exhaust spring. And you see how it's crushed, how it's deformed, deshaped. It's tore up. So I gotta go dig in my box of parts and see if I can find another HEMI spring. I have lots of non-HEMI springs, but I need to find a HEMI spring, and I might just have one pair. Yeah, so the exhaust spring is no good. Now this is what I believe the culprit to causing the push rod and the rocker arm coming detached was this spring just gave up and created the gap necessary for the push rod to fall out. And ultimately, I think this was the problem. Now it could have been too that the valve stuck in there causing this, but I doubt it. I bet it was more this just fatigued, failed, got hot, whatever. And I mean, can you really tell the difference on it? It is destroyed. So it's all deformed. I'm gonna go ahead and find that other set, and we'll start putting this thing back together. I'm not gonna reuse the old valves, even though I could clean them up and reuse them. Like I said earlier, I've got a new set of the same valves to put back in there. So let me find those other springs, and we'll start putting the head back together. Alright, so I found my new, well, they're not new, but yeah, they are new really, 10.8 springs out of the HEMI, and they'll replace the damaged springs. Now we just need to go ahead and lap the valves in. And if you see the valves, it's kind of hard to see on there, but they have a YI 170, and then over here we have a YE 170. So the E is exhaust, the I is intake. I don't know, I think it might be too dark for you to see that. Yeah, I think it's gonna be too dark for you to see that. That's a Y, or this is the YI, and this is the YE. I don't know, it's probably too dark to see it. But see, does that make it any better? YE 170 and YI 170. So I'm gonna go ahead and lap them in. I'll do the intake valve first, and then we'll lap in and put the new springs on the exhaust valve. I want to put a little bit of oil because this thing is clean and there hasn't been any oil. You know, all the oil's been washed out of it. So I want to put a little oil in for the valve guides. I don't want to put it in dry. And we'll just set it down in there like so. Willie got a hold ahead of himself. I should have put some lapping compound around there first. Let's do that. Doesn't take much. Last time this squirted out. We're just gonna put a little bit on it. Now, we'll go ahead and put it in. Push it in so really like that. Get another rag. Now I'm gonna get the medium-sized suction cup, put a little spin on it, and go to town. So I've got the valves all lapped in now. Probably really hard to see, but they're all lapped in. Both of them look really good. The head's all cleaned up. It also looks really good. So we'll go ahead and assemble it. With the new springs and keepers. And then we're going to put a little water in there and make sure that they seal. If you put the valves in, you put it this way, put a little water on each side, let it sit for a while, then carefully pull it off. You'll see if there's any water getting by the valves. It's a good indication that maybe the valve grind is not right. So I've never had any fail yet, but you never know. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and assemble it. And where's my... Go ahead and get it assembled, get some oil on it, and yeah, we'll be good to go. This is intake, Put a little oil on the exhaust. Here we go. Now we've got our new springs. Just one more time to show the difference of the spring. Look how collapsed that is and deformed. I think this was the overall problem of everything. To get the keepers. Now I have one new lash cap in here, but I have the lash caps from the other valves, and we'll use those. This is just a simple, you know, push it on or push it over. I'm gonna hold the valve from the back side so that it doesn't go down. There I go. Let me get this one. There we go. Now the valves are completely installed and held in by the springs. Now I'm going to keep these because that's kind of cool that that spring collapsed like that. Totally deformed. I think that's kind of neat. The valves, I'm not going to keep them. I'll probably throw them away. But, yeah. So far, that's that. And we could put the studs back in and really have it ready to go. Do I have the wrong ones? I do. I had the wrong ones in the wrong hole. Can you believe that? We should put a little bit of blue Loctite on those, huh? Just a little bit. Let me get that. Probably not needed, but we'll do it anyway. Just a little bit. Okay, as you saw, I have the head all assembled. This is the next day. I've got water in there. I'm just checking, it's on both sides, if the valve seal is good. The lapping is good. I believe it is. We're going to pull it off here in a few minutes. It's been like this for about 10 minutes already. I really don't see a drop in the water level. So I think everything is good. I don't see any signs of water on the paper towel as well. Even in the spark plug hole, everything looks good. So we'll pull that off gently in a minute and see if we got any leaking. But I also wanted to point out right here, I don't know if you can see it. Yeah, you can see it. There is a little mark on the piston where it looks like a valve, the exhaust valve, would have hit the piston. So I was right in saying that these the piston and valve kissed, because they definitely made contact hard enough to make an indentation in the top of the piston. And I've used these flat top pistons before, and there's no valve relief cuts in there. So that was an accidental touch. So next thing I want to do is drain the oil out of the engine and remove the side cover just to check on the condition of the cam. Make sure that the points are lined up correctly. Wipe it out of any sludge or debris or anything that might be in there. This engine's been ran and ran hard by the looks of the way all the oil goo, I'll say, was. So I just want to clean it up a little bit on the inside. I should pull the piston out, check the rings, and make sure they're good, but I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to take the side cover off, and hopefully I have a gasket here somewhere that'll fit it. Re-put it on there, you know, put it back, clean it up, put it back on there, refill it with the proper 20 ounces, I think it was 20 ounces of oil, and then get ready to put the head on. And then we got to take a look at that starter. So that's next on the agenda. I'm going to try to spare the pain of me taking it all apart and you seeing it. But yeah, you'll see it once I get it apart again and the side cover off. So next, we're going to take a look at this head right now and see if we got any spots on the bottom. Now we just got to carefully lift this up so we don't spill any water. Yay! I did have a couple drops. I think that's oil actually. but I don't see any water where the valves were. Now I'll just drain this water out. I think we're good. I think we're really good. I'm gonna go ahead and blow the water out of the holes, make sure it's all dry. I don't want those valves rusting. And I'll put some oil in there. So next up, the engine. Alright, so I'm gonna drain the oil. I'm gonna drain the oil into this measuring cup here. Now, it's got a bolt on the bottom and your normal 212 bolt, but it's also got like a little funnel and an opening on the bottom. So it should be about 20 ounces or so. So I'm gonna go ahead and just pull the plug out and let it rip. This will give us an idea too of how dirty the oil is. Just pull the drain plug out like that and let her go. I'll put it off to the side. It's gonna drain kind of slow, I guess. Check it out. I got the side cover off. First time I've ever had a generator open. Interesting that the oil sensor is on the side cover and not inside underneath the crank. And the cutoff snub right there, that's really interesting. I like how they did that. Kind of neat. That means all the generator parts are on that side. Everything. Taking a look in there. I mean, it all looks pretty good. I don't see any other damage. The cam looks alright. I'm gonna go ahead and make sure the timing marks are set for top dead center, and get the oil bottom of that all cleaned out. That looks like Hershey's chocolate syrup in there. That is crazy how dirty it is. Man, I don't think this oil has ever been changed in this generator, but we'll get it all changed this time. I gotta get a new gasket on there, and we should be good to go. So I'm gonna get this cleaned up inside, get those timing marks set, and put it back together. So yep, this generator repair goes a little bit further. It's really dark in here. See the moon? It's pretty bright. I'll probably have to stop pretty soon because it is getting so dark. The rod looks okay. The cylinder, for the most part, you can see some scoring, but their hash marks are there. And yeah, it's pretty dirty. I'll clean it up and re-oil it. The piston, let's see. The piston is very dirty, which is one of more of the reasons why I wanted to take it out and just clean it up. You can see the rings right there. I don't know if you can see that. The rings gap is lined up. Yeah, after I clean them, I'll set the ring gaps right and get them back in the engine. But overall, I mean, it looks pretty good. It's just, everything is just filthy inside. So, it doesn't help that there's sand all over the bottom of the generator tray. I gotta really be careful when I put this back together that I get it all clean. I don't want that sand to be stuck in there. Yeah. Anyway, so I've got it apart. I'm gonna clean everything up. I'm gonna soak this piston for a while and get it all cleaned up. It's not bad, it's just dirty. So the cam turned out really good. Got it all clean. Got the lifters cleaned up, and got inside the lifter bore down in there. And the oil return. Look where that oil return is. It's all the way on the middle. Can we see that? I don't know if we can see that. Get the light in there and get the camera. I don't know. The oil drain hole's all the way at the middle. So that whole thing has to fill up with oil before it drains back. Interesting idea. I guess it's maybe to help oil or lubricate the lifters. Maybe. I don't know. But yeah, I'm gonna get this stuff cleaned up, and I think that's gonna be all for tonight because it's getting dark outside and kind of cold. So we'll get back on this in the AM.
Oh man, it's been a lot of work. It's another day. This is a few days later, I guess, from the last part of this video. I went ahead and took the engine out of the generator frame. There's the frame over there. There's just too much dirt and sand and whatever you want to call it for me to keep the engine clean during assembly. So the best way was to get it out of the engine, the generator casing, and wash the engine down again, blow it, really get it cleaned up before I put the piston back in, and the camshaft, the lifters or followers, whatever you want to call them, and torque the rod bolts to about 10 foot-pounds, and the side cover bolts here to about 20 foot-pounds. I have a little cheat sheet here that kind of gives me everything I need to know, just in case I forget. It's for the GX160 200, which is pretty much these engines. So you know, like the cylinder head bolts, I'll usually torque those to 20, even though it says 17. The connecting rod, I went to 9 just because my torque wrench is better at 10, I think. The flywheel nut, you know, 54. Rocker arm pivot bolt, the special nut, 7. The rocker arm pivot bolt, the regular bolt is 17. Crankcase cover, 17. Like I said, I went to 20. And the muffler mounting bolts, 17. I go by this when I'm reassembling these things. I can't remember all that stuff. So I've got it here. I'm going to go ahead and run the piston down and wipe it down. Put some oil in there, run it down, clean it up. Make sure I get all the debris out of here. Oh, I did run my hone down the cylinder again because there was some questionable areas. So I went ahead and ran the hone down a few times and then cleaned up washed it all out again, inside and out. And then installed the piston and clocked the rings properly. And now it's time to get it ready to put the head on. So the head's ready to go. It's been sitting over here ready, you know, with the tools I used to install the piston. And like I said, I'm gonna go ahead and run this down with some oil, make sure we get it all clean right here, and then we'll bring it to top dead center again, put it all together, and start setting the valves. So as usual, DIY fashion, I'm out here working and getting stuff done and forgetting to capture it on the camera to show you guys what I'm doing. So let's take a look at where I'm at so far. So I've got the generator kind of put back together. Made a couple subtle changes. I think it should work out well. Maybe this will take it to that 1.2 gigawatt factor, I guess, for time travel. I don't know. New air filter on the carburetor. New exhaust right there. I don't think it'll be that much louder, but it all fits, and it'll probably be a lot more efficient. Get more power out of it, and yeah, I like it. It looks good. It fits right in there. I'm gonna have to modify the plastics a little bit, but yeah, there we go. So I'm gonna go ahead and wrap it up, finish putting it together, and so we can give it a try to start it up. So as I was saying, the engine's in, everything's put back together, everything's plugged in, and yeah, just a couple more things to do, like put the gas tank on, get the plastics on, that kind of thing. So I'm gonna get busy, get this stuff done. See you in a little bit. So the GoPro's out of power. The battery went dead on it while I was making another video. So I'm working on the carburetor for the generator. And when I had it on the generator, it was leaking everywhere. It was coming out the float, or it's coming out here along the seal of the bowl. It was coming out this bolt right here that holds the bowl on. I mean, it was coming out of everywhere. So this has a servo to control the RPM, not like these carburetors that use the rods. So, and also the fuel cutoff and everything is different on this carburetor for the generator. So I could have put a new carburetor. I have plenty of these carburetors laying around, but I couldn't do that. I needed this carburetor to work. So what I went ahead and did was, this was a brand new carburetor off the 212. I went ahead and took all the parts out of it I could take and put them into the generator carburetor. The gasket was pretty thin, pretty wore out. It was leaking there. Also, this gasket was pretty wore out also. And I don't know, I just went ahead and changed the floats and everything just to make sure it all seals up right. This thing's been through some hard use. So I've got it all back together now. Gonna put it on the generator and see if it works. I didn't adjust anything. I did not do any adjustments to the idle, to do anything on here. I didn't adjust the servo. I did find the servo was missing bolts, or missing screws rather, right there. And it wasn't engaged into the throttle right there. So when I had the generator apart, I found that screw down in the bottom. And well, I didn't know what it was for, but I put it in a bag so I could save it. And if I found a place where it went, I would have it to reinstall. And well, I found where it goes. It went right there. So the servo that controls the RPM was not engaged in the throttle at all. Now it is. I just hope that the servo works. You know, it plugs in right here and the generator controls it. I just hope that the servo works. Time will tell. So I'm ready now. I've got it all blown out with air, cleaned with carburetor cleaner. I've got the new parts put in it out of the other carburetor, and I'm ready to put it back on the generator. So just a quick update of where I'm at with this project. This generator repair has escalated into so much more than just it won't start. You know, from bent valves to collapsed springs to dirty rings to, I mean, it was bad. Now the carburetor was all jacked up. So who knows if it even ran before. I don't know. But I'm doing my best to get it to run now. Time to get that carburetor back inside. Whew, man, this generator's been a project and a half. I've got it assembled back together and almost ready to start it up. Probably should have started it before I put the panels on it. But yeah, anyway, we've got it ready to go. The only thing is during the time that I've had this apart, had it apart maybe 2 weeks, I guess, maybe 3 weeks, and the screws that go on these side panels are missing. It's like the screw gremlins came in here and just ate the screws or something. I cannot find those screws. So I found some that seemed to work in my drawer, but I didn't have many of them, and they were too long. I found some number 10 2-inch. I think these are sheet metal screws. They worked. They went in there and they held it just fine. The only thing is they're not black. I could paint them black, but it's not a big deal. So I went over to the local home store and I picked up some more, but shorter. These are 3/4 inch, number 10. There's 10 pieces each. I have 20. I grabbed some washers just to see if we needed them. Yeah, they may not even fit in the holes, but at least these screws will work. And I'll be able to change or install all these screws. Now the back panel for the exhaust has 6. Here's Spike, he's being noisy over there. And the front panel has 2. This one behind here doesn't have anything to screw to, it's broken. So we'll just go with it. And looks like there's something supposed to be down here too, but I don't have those. I do have these. So let's get those screws in and wrap up this generator and see if we can get it to run. So the generator's down off the table. It's all put back together. I got all the missing screws installed everywhere. Looks good. It's got half a tank of gas in it. It's ready to start. Like I said, I probably should have started it before I had it 100% back together, but it wasn't leaking gas anymore in the carburetor after I rebuilt the carburetor. So I have good hopes. I also went online went to Harbor Freight and downloaded their startup procedures and the manual for the generator. I just wanted to have it just in case, because I didn't have one and I've never started a generator like this. So yeah, we just want to make sure we're all good. I don't want something to happen to it. So setup, you know, you gotta get your gas. They recommend using a fuel stabilizer. I do too. Fill the gas tank, open the door, access door, remove the oil plug, fill full dipstick. We did that. We got plenty of oil in there. Position generator outside, unplug all electrical loads. Yeah, we're good, we're there. And then turn economy switch off. Check the oil level, we've already done that. Push start for up to 3 seconds, or pull handle. Well, the starter we know is broken, so we're not going to use the starter, we're going to use the handle. Wait for output light, and slowly turn switch to run before attaching loads. So this is assuming that it started, but I hope it does. And that's really all that I can see. Of course, it's got some service recommendations on it. So if you got this generator and you don't have the manuals, you can go to Harbor Freight and download them and print them out or whatever. It really helps out to you know, make sure the generator is working good and keep it working good for a long time. So now the big question is, will it start? It says ESC throttle in the off position. There's the on, there's the off. The starter doesn't work. The battery is inside and hooked up. As you can hear, it just clicks. It doesn't work. To replace the starter is not expensive. I saw one online already. It was about 79 bucks. We'll say $80. And it's simple. Just remove this panel and you can get right in there and just replace the starter. A couple wires and a couple bolts and you're good. But I will use the pull start to get it going. So there's the run position. There's the start position. And when you turn it to start, what it does is it pulls the choke and turns on the fuel. This is also the fuel cutoff and the ignition kill all in one. So the start position will pull the choke, and yeah, turn on the fuel. We should be good to go. Let's see if we can get it started. Hope you can see this. Oh, here we go. I said slowly turn it to the run position. There we go. Look at that. I guess that's 124 volts. Output in the run position. Ready to go. I think we'll plug a grinder or something into it and see how it's working. Yeah, it's like super quiet. Yeah. Nice. Let me get something and plug into it. Hope this is not too much power. We're just going to try the grinder. Here we go. Perfect. I like it. I like it a lot. You always want to unplug the load before turning it off. I kind of want it to run for a while and kind of wear in. So we rehome the cylinder and let the rings set in. I should have put new rings in it, but I didn't. Everything else is pretty new. It's not smoking. Running good. It works good. Yeah, I call that a successful DIYWILLY project. Nice. Well, this was a great project. This generator really was more than I expected. There was a lot wrong with it, a lot that needed done, and
well, I don't know if the owner, or I should say the new owner, even knew of all the problems that was going on in this generator. It runs great now. I mean, it's very responsive. You saw that it had a lot of power out of it. I don't really know what to say about a generator, but it works, and it works good. And then also, you know, like I was saying, it was a lot of work. Basically, the engine was rebuilt. You know, the head was refreshed, new valves, new springs, keepers, cleaned up the cylinder, cleaned up the ports, washed off the block. Man, I did a lot in there. The rod and the bearing area and the journals all looked good. The bearings still felt good. I cleaned everything out, got all the oil gunk out of them, and was able to re-oil everything. Put it together with new gaskets, a side cover gasket, head gasket, funnel cover gasket. And man, there was about 6 gaskets on the carburetor, or maybe 5, but there was a lot of gaskets on the carburetor. I actually had to order another kit because I didn't have enough gaskets. And well, it's all together, it's working, it's running, and I'm very happy with it. If you liked the video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't already, and yeah, it was a fun project, and I'm very happy with the results. I'm glad I did it, even though it took longer than I anticipated, and well, it's a good project. And wrap this video up right here. I'll see you guys later in the next, and bye.